Hello, my name is Anthony Cummins and welcome to this video. Ninjutsu is just historical role-playing. Now, my last video was a video called Letting Go of Ninjutsu, and this is actually an add-on to that video, so if you've not seen it, go back and watch that. But in the last video, I did discuss two distinct groups that have formed. One is the Ninja Boom enthusiasts, and the other one is the historical manual enthusiasts. And they have now got two distinct identities, and they hate each other and argue all day long, and have started different factions. So what I want to do is now go deeper into something I discussed in the last video, which is that ninjutsu has become LARPing or role-playing. If you not understand what LARPing is, it means live action roleplay, and these are the guys who dress up as fantasy elven creatures and they go into the woods and they hurt each other. And we shouldn't call them, I hate people who call other people's hobbies. They're enjoying themselves, let them enjoy themselves. Nothing wrong with LARPing. If you want to do it, off you go. I have no issues with that, or historical reenactment, whatever. It's really nice to watch when you go to a castle at the weekend and stuff like that. So what I want to do is look at that argument a bit deeper. First of all, I would like to say that the Ninja Boom enthusiasts should be careful with the word LARPing, because in the martial arts community, in the mixed martial arts community especially, Ninja Taijutsu, which we won't go into, but Ninja Taijutsu is called the LARPing martial art, okay? So you've got to be careful when you start, slagging other people off, because that's the term they use for you, so let's not slag everybody off. The main problem is that now the historical ninja manuals are out. Bansen Shukai, Shoninki, Shinobi Hiden, Iga and Koga, all that, they're out now, and there's a big issue. And I've discussed this with some of my friends and colleagues, and we've talked about why it's become an issue. And the issue is that people who did ninjutsu in the Ninja Boom enthusiast community have opened the manuals, and it's not directly applicable to them. They look at it and it's like, right, I do martial arts, I use katana, I use naginata, I've got yari, I've got all these weapons. This I cannot translate into my mind into usage in dojo time. And of course, people whose businesses run off it, and why not have a business in martial arts, that's fine, can't use this to actually produce money, which is what their livelihood is about, which, again, is fine. So they're like, well, I can't teach torches and fire and explosives, I can't really do that, for health and safety, and, blah, 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 all these issues come up. So therefore, the Ninja Boom enthusiasts are now calling the other group and saying, oh, they're just historical role players, and we have to now be careful how we go down this route. The problem is you I would say you should not use the word role playing or LARPing, simply because it's said in a negative way. When people say that group over there are role-playing, they don't mean they're having fun, they're exploring their interests. What they mean is they're not doing it real, we're doing it real, they're rubbish. That's what they're saying. So you've got to be careful. Don't use the word role-playing, because it has negative connotations when you use it in that context. Therefore, what I want to do is go through now and show you the different words we should be using. The words that are used are, of course, role-playing, which has negative connotations here. LARPing, live action role-play, which again has a negative connotation. But what is around and does have positive connotations is living history. So instead of saying they're LARPing, we should say they're doing living history, or they're involved in living history. The other one is experimental archaeology. This is normally, living history is more about dressing up and doing the tactics and the skills, blah, blah, blah. Experimental archaeology is about recreating the tools, recreating the stuff and all that. So you should be, if you're in the Ninja Boom enthusiast group, you should be saying, though they're doing historical interpretation or historical reenactment or living history or experimental archaeology, things like that. We should ditch the role-playing stuff, because that's just name calling at the end of the day. But what we're missing, and what isn't really there, is that middle ground. And I don't have a name for it, to be honest. And that's where it is living history. And I love living history. And that's what I class what I do really as living history. And then there's people who train. But what's the difference in training with a katana or a naginata or a yari and training with a torch and climbing walls? So for example, if you go at the weekend and climb some walls, use a grappling hook, do some swimming, or you go using spears and fighting, you're just getting fit. You're never going to use those skills. You're not really going to use the skill of spearing someone. Of course, you'll become a better fighter, you become a better martial artist, but you don't often get in a spear fight. Therefore, you're doing living history. So it doesn't matter which one you do, you're still getting healthy. You know, there's no issue there. So what I'm trying to say is that, in essence, the Ninja Boom enthusiasts and the historical manual enthusiasts, we're all of us are doing living history. We're all doing experimental archaeology. None of us are real ninjas. None of us are real samurai. That's not the point. So what we're missing, going back to it, is a word where there's a middle lane, where it's like, yeah, I am not doing living history. I don't class myself as a reenactor, so I go at the weekends and I dress and I'm like, I am a ninja, and we pretend to be ninja. We're not doing that. So we do have one foot outside of living history, because we're not entertaining a crowd and we're not actually believing we're ninja for the weekend make-believe. We are taking the print, and I mean we mean in both groups. I'm not talking about we, the historical, I'm talking everybody in the people watching these videos. We sort of take that stance of, yeah, we do a bit of historical stuff, even you guys on this side, because you use all the historical weapons, blah, blah, blah. We use it for our lives. We want it to hopefully improve our lives. We want to dedicate ourselves to something so we have a path, and we have something to follow, we have something to study, and we have something to improve ourselves. So whereas living history people do it so that they can experience the past and entertain a crowd or have a hobby, and live action role players do it so they can enter a realm of fantasy and enjoy a weekend away from work, us lot on both of these sides do it because we want to have one foot in history to taste. We want to taste ninja. We want to taste samurai. What's it like? What was it really like? And in the other foot, we've got in the self-development. So we need a new word now that's not live action role play. It's not LARPing. It's not experimental archaeology, living history, blah, blah, blah. We need a word that has got something to do with history and personal life skills. What's that word? Put your comments down below and let's try and get some ideas, because that would be, let's coin a new phrase. That would be nice. For example, there are another group of people out there, and these are the Western martial artists. These are the people who do Western hand-to-hand combat, and they dress as knights, and they go using long swords, and they copy the old manuals. They're very similar to what we do. We look at the ninja scrolls and the samurai scrolls, and we copy those manuals and try to touch that life. They do the same. They wouldn't class themselves totally as a living history, because they actually feel like proper swordsmen. They go out and they train and train and train, so they're quite handy with a sword and quite good. So they also need this word, this coin, and we've got to treat ourselves more like that. One foot in living history and one foot in personal development. They exist and we exist, but we have broken up into different groups and branches, which I'm sure they've done as well. My point being is that we can't go around telling the other group they're doing role play when one group plays with katanas and the other group plays with swords. We're all pretty much doing living history, but we need to come to the middle. No one is a samurai. No one is a ninja. This is a big problem, is that some people sit on one side of the fence and say, we're more ninja than you, and the people on the other side are like, we're more ninja than you. None of you are a ninja. None of you are a samurai. I'm not ninja. I'm not samurai. It is ridiculous. I mean this, and I mean it's ridiculous to call yourself ninja. It is impossible. There's only one way you can possibly be ninja, and that is to invent the time machine, go back in time, and become Japanese through plastic surgery, and then speak Japanese, and go off and become a ninja. Never gonna happen, guys. So you've got to remember, you are a living history reenactor. You are somebody seeking life skills and personal development. You can't be a ninja or a samurai because you are not born in those times. Even the people, like I've said before, Katori Shinto Ryu, Muhyoshi Ryu, even those people who have legitimate lineages of even a trace of ninjutsu in. Muhyoshi Ryu has quite a lot of ninjutsu in. Even those people, they're not ninja, they're not samurai. They are modern Japanese people. They are not samurai. You have to have been born before 1868 to even qualify in that bracket, so none of us do, unless you're over 160, 70 years old or something like that. I want to talk to you now about image and icons and perceived ideas. Now I'm going to use JJ as an example. If you don't know who JJ is, JJ is called John Johnson, and he's very prominent in the this side of the board. He's the historical manuals, and he makes lots of ninja tools. And of course I'm going to use Gabriel here, but Gabriel, if you know him, I'm going to put aside for the minute because he's the same as JJ, but I want to use JJ because JJ actually gets a lot of stick from this side. These people say, oh, JJ's doing this, JJ's getting it wrong, JJ's doing this. What you need to understand is that it's how it's presented. So JJ is young, he's quite quirky, he's an interesting individual, he's a nice man, he's a bit naive in the sense that of course he's young and he's quite honest in his heart. That's obviously becoming quickly tempered by him seeing how horrible people are to him. And what it is that because it's JJ and he's young and he's all these things, people don't pay him the respect he deserves. Now and of course he's working out of a basement and it's obviously a bit messy and a bit cluttery and a bit all over the place. So what I want to do now is put a different image. Let's fast forward 50 years, yeah? JJ is about 77 years old, something like that. Or, 72, 73. And he's old, he's reserved, he's, quiet. He's got a long beard on, he's got a craggy face, and his hair is tied back as it is now. He's in a beautiful workshop. The workshop has got an orange honey glow light. In front of him, behind him are all tools made of wood and iron. Beautiful, expensive tools. He speaks very softly, and in front of him is a workbench, and he's carving away and very delicately talking. He's talking about the grain of the wood, and he's got some complicated ideas going on about Japanese locking joints. He opens up a manual and he reads in Japanese, and he's, talking about the history of Japan, very correctly talking about the history of Japan. And he's showing you how a ninja tool locks together. And this image is on a documentary, he's in National Geographic. You would give that JJ a totally different view or opinion, or you would put your opinion of him on him, totally different to what you would do with our JJ, simply because it is presented differently and it has the connotations loaded behind it that you are used to and you want to see the old man in the workshop doing it. Then you would call him, the living history expert, an experimental archaeologist. He's revolutionised, the reenactment of historical samurai warfare. Okay, so what you've got to remember is that doing living history is not a problem. And it is actually quite high in the list of history. Like, there's lots of documentaries now. There's lots of archaeologists who are going down the experimental archaeology route. There's lots of historians who are going down the living history route to see how it feels. You watch any documentary on nights, they're firing arrows into ballistics gel and doing all that. This is what JJ's doing. But JJ doesn't have the age with him yet, or the money behind him, or the equipment, or the vast expense a film crew has to put into it. So, what I'm trying to say is that living history is not a bad thing, not an issue, as long as you understand that's what it is. My final statement is this, is after you've just listened to all that, which I'm sure you've, tired of by now, but my final statement is the fact that no matter which group you're in, this group or that group, we are all in some way part of the living history community. You cannot get away from it. If you hold a katana and you wear, some sort of Japanese clothes and you go to a dojo and you pray to a kamidana and blah, 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 you are living history. You're not real ninja. You are not real samurai. You are living history. You are interpreting. You are an enthusiast. However, on this side of the board, you are still trying to forge yourself. You're not going there just to recreate history. You are trying to forge yourself by recreating history. Make sure that definition is inside you.